Hey, I'm Shelly,
And I'm Angela,
and this is Real Talk Dating Exposed.
where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of dating in your 40s.
If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like us below.
And if you're listening to us on audio, please subscribe as well.
Now let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about when we start dating someone or the potential of dating someone. What is the process we use to kind of vet them from day one? When do we start leaning into feeling comfortable and safe with them? Like, what are we looking for? How are we vetting these humans? And then how are we, like, at what point do we feel like we get a good grasp of who they are? Because I do think we've kind of like honed in on a process that works for us that we want to share.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like there's so much to uncover here. I think the biggest thing is we talk about just observing, right? Like we're going into a conversation, we're going into a date, we're going into an experience with this person unattached to any outcome. So we're not walking in saying, okay, these are all the things I'm looking for. Is this person meeting it? No, it's here's a human across the table from me. And I'm going to ask questions coming from a non-judgment place out of curiosity so I can see if we align.
Removing expectations.
No expectations, completely unattached to whatever happens.
I feel like that's
time.
hard. I mean, I will speak on my behalf. We've chatted through this. I think that's where a lot of my disappointment has always come, is because I would walk into a date like, could I see this being my person?
Yeah.
You know, and then you're judging it off of an hour or two. And then so I'm so fixated on like the story I've made up in my head about what that should look like that I don't get to just be present and enjoy the person across the table and observe them.
Right.
So I think that's step one. And you've always been super stellar about that. I think about just like, I'm going into this open and unattached.
Yeah.
And I think I've had a harder time with that. You've talked me through that, I guess, a lot.
Well, and I think it's just because we just don't know who's across the table from us. And going back to your initial question is like, how long does that take? It depends, right? Like it depends on what are the conversations that we're having. How in depth are they? How much time are we spending together?
Totally.
What do I feel like after I leave that person?
I think we asked that to our viewers on Instagram. How long do you think it takes? And I think the overall answer was like 2 years to like fully know someone. But I'm talking about where you're like, okay, we're going from never knowing each other to like, we're going to be in a relationship. There's got to be like a level of security.
100%.
And I think we agree it is about, but what's our magic number? I kind of feel like we have one.
Yeah. I would say you have a really good understanding of their like general demeanor, how they handle stress after 3 months.
3 months.
Of like consistently hanging out with them.
Or communicating in some capacity.
Yeah. Because I think after 3 months, like their guard has gotten down. They're feeling more comfortable with the dynamic between the two of us.
Totally.
And you start seeing things that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise seen because maybe they were too buttoned up and putting their best foot forward.
Totally.
Right. And so, yeah, I think 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's been proven time and time. Again.
Well, and I think that's something I taught you, or I wouldn't say taught you, but being that I've been dating way longer, like in the dating world, is that I'm like, you have to like, so I feel like emotion would get involved. I think women get attached quick. They can. And I stopped doing that once I started realizing that you don't really know what you're getting emotionally attached to, meaning are you connecting it to that person for who they really are or who they're showing up as?
Well, and also like dating is exciting. Right.
Totally.
And so like you're doing all the fun things. You're going out to dinner, you're going out dancing, like you're going out to the movies, like you're doing things that you don't typically do all the time.
So it's easy
and
to
so
kind of
all of that is a distraction to what's actually in front of you. And I think too, going back to women, I think women as a whole, we look at the person sitting across from us and see potential. Not really what's reality. And so I think also if you find yourself caught up in this, like, oh, but there's this and it could be that, or even just like being aware of how you feel after you leave the date, right? Because I think society teaches us like, oh, you want those butterflies and you want the excitement, but actually you don't.
No, so
you want to feel calm. You want to feel relaxed. You want to feel safe. And for women, that's physically and also emotionally, which takes a very secure man.
Entirely agree.
And I mean, that's a whole other thing. But so if you're feeling that way, but if you find yourself being like, oh, but if only this, then it's like, okay, now we're dating in the space of potential, which women in general are more forgiving. Women do see potential. They do see bigger picture. Not to say that men don't, but that's where I feel like most women date in the space of like, this could be this. And so then you may get a little sidetracked with what's actually right in front of your face.
And I also think that's because women also lead with the emotion, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you are having those dates and you're having fun, but you are seeing some signs. But I think it takes a woman going through this a couple times. Like, I think learning to not date potential is one of the hardest lessons women can learn.
Yes.
Like, I've had to learn it the hard way,
Yeah.
because you see someone and you're having fun with them and you feel like you have that connection and you like want it to be.
Yes.
You're like, only if
Yes.
X, Y, and Z were different,
Right.
this would be fucking perfect. But
Yeah.
the problem is X,
It's
Y,
not.
and Z are not
Yeah.
different. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and even if they were open, but it's like, do you want to have to, we're not in the land of like changing people.
No.
Like,
No.
we want to accept people for exactly who they are. You
100%. And I think there's like that fine balance of being like, I want to be in someone's life and vice versa, where I could be like, hey, have you thought about this way? Like, I think it's okay to have conversations of like,
to change a perspective.
change perspective, or like introduce maybe new things or activities that that person otherwise wouldn't, or provide a calm, safe space that maybe they're not used to. I think that healing can happen in a relationship. But what I don't want to be having conversations are, for example, like any insecurity. That's like a hard no for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like if
like,
there's a man that's like, hey, when you did this, it made me feel really insecure. And it's like in the first beginning dates, like that's a fucking huge red flag, because that's just a no.
Well, I think it's just a reflection of where they're at in their journey,
Yes.
right? You know, if you're not giving them reasons to feel insecure, then there shouldn't be insecurity talk on the table.
Right.
Period.
Right.
But I also agree, you know, you're not going to change someone being emotionally unavailable.
No.
You know, I like love emotionally unavailable men. And I used to love emotionally unavailable men and try to make those relationships work. And now I'm like, oh my God, I respect you as a human, but like, I can't, that is not, we're not in the space to like make
Yes.
someone emotionally available. So
No.
but dating the potential, you could be like, but everything else is so good. So if I can just get them to,
Yeah. If you could just open up, or like,
or get him
yeah.
to understand my emotions and show that he
Cares.
is understanding and
Yeah.
cares in that way, like everything would be perfect. I mean, I've wasted a lot of years on that.
Yeah.
You know, so now
Right.
it's just more like we need to not date potential and we need to observe. And I'm not saying don't have emotional attachment to someone, right? That's not human. You know, I just think getting too emotionally attached too quick is not the way to go when you first start dating someone.
Well, and it's not a healthy attachment, right? We can talk about like attachment styles, where when you have someone who is a secure attachment, they're okay maybe chatting once a day, every other day, I mean, you're busy. That person's busy. They have their own life. They're secure in who they are, and they're not looking for someone else to fill the voids.
Agree.
Whereas if you have someone who's anxious, then they need to have that constant communication, that constant FaceTime. Otherwise, they don't feel secure.
Well, then they think something's wrong.
And they think something wrong. And so the other person's having to talk them through like, no, I'm just actually busy with work and kids and life. And like, also I am my own person and I have all these other things that I like to do. And I don't want to spend every waking moment with you. So
again, that goes back to observe, right? Like
Yeah.
what you don't learn about someone.
Right.
Because I feel like the first couple weeks, depending on how much time you're spending with someone, it is that fun. Like,
yeah,
I get a little bit more like, hey, let's do some real life shit.
yeah.
Like, I don't know what that is,
Home
but
Depot?
I mean,
Let's
Home
go to Home
Depot.
Depot.
Yeah, like I mean, working out, I don't know about that, but we've
No,
talked about that.
working out, I think, is a great thing.
because you get a vibe for like, I feel like no comment on that. Oh my
No
goodness.
comment
Yeah.
yet. But no, working out, because it's such a part of our life. I think you do that. Like, first you ask yourself, am I okay with this person being in my space when this is like my downtime?
Totally.
Also, you get to see how they behave at the gym.
Which could be an array of
Array of-
ways. I completely agree. But you know what I'm saying? Like, not just I love the dinners and stuff, and I get off the bat, you're not going to just do, but it is nice to kind of put yourself in a different environment with them, like more real life. Because I feel like what happens is the first couple weeks, it's the representative showing up. We always say this, but I think everyone's on their best behaviors, right?
Yep.
But like, look, how many months does it take when you're like starting to settle into like, okay, I'm comfy with this person, they're comfy with me. So like you start seeing those other sides, those other dynamics, those other personalities under different scenarios, stressors, life situations. I don't know if you can rush that, but sometimes I wish we could like kind of get there before we waste our time doing all the other things. But there is no way to rush through the process of dating, which just takes time. I feel like.
Because the only way to rush is then to spend a lot of time, and then you're setting that expectation, and that's not
and I don't think that's
where we
want to
be. It's not healthy.
No. To put all your time into a new person. I get it's easy to go there, but I think you still need to have your boundaries and your you time and your kid time or your work time or your family time, and just kind of keep that, because you want to know that you can have that balance in real life, right? Because it's not going to be real life to be up their asses all day, every day. Yeah. It's just not reality.
So I think a couple things: being unattached to the outcome. It's okay to be excited. It's okay to have feelings and emotions around someone, but don't be like, this is my person, because I think it puts you in a space of just looking past everything. Women, we date from the space of potential, not reality. So even if it means going home and journaling, like, this is what actually showed up today or what has shown up this week, but what do I see this being potential as, will be a really good activity for you to decide between the two.
Or go to a friend that you trust, right? Like, we bounce things off each other because we respect each other's opinions, to be like, hey, this happened today. What do you think about that? Like, and I know it's hard to find people, but I do think it's important to kind of chat through the reality of what's happening, not like keep it inside, because then sometimes we get caught up in our fantasies.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
But
and if you women have like questions for us, we're always happy
we've been
to like
through it all. So feel free
you
to
can send us a scenario. We're happy to walk through it with you. And then just always be collecting data.
Yeah. ABCD, always be collecting data. I do think it takes a couple months, and I do think you need to just be very observant, right? I think too many people just, and I'm not mad if that's where they're at in their life, where they just want to have that fun and like they're not looking for serious, or I don't know. We're just in a different place. Like, if you're really looking for someone that you're going to be ultimately connecting your life with, or like down the road, I know we're not setting ourselves up with the intention from the start of like, is this my person? But you want to be observing while you're having fun.
Right.
I guess. And then also not take anything personal.
No.
I think that's a big one too. So like, if shit goes left after 2 months because they went and got back with their ex, or they cheated, whatever, like they fell off and ghosted you. I mean, some crazy shit has happened. That is not a me problem.
No, that's
women.
a them.
That is not a you problem.
Yeah.
That's a man problem, you know? And we just have to learn to accept that, like, we don't know these people.
Well, we talk about this all the time, like, especially when that happens early on, you're like, thank you for showing me that now. Because
instead of
just
me finding it out.
You just saved me all of this time, the next 6 months, 2 years of getting to know you, to understand that that's truly who you are.
Agree, 100%.
So again, leading from observe, reevaluate, and then constantly just check in. How do I feel?
Totally. And I do think you'll get to a point where there's a comfort level, and you'll know and you'll feel safe. Like, that was another topic we were going to discuss, is like, when do you feel safe? Like, I don't feel safe for a long time with someone. I could feel safe in someone's presence, but I mean, fully opening up and giving myself to someone takes a long time, because I feel like as we get older, there's more baggage, there's more issues, there's more, you just don't know where someone's at. And it takes longer to kind of figure that out. Yeah. So I think people want to rush that because they feel like, oh my God, we're in our 40s. Like, we need to find our person. Like, I'm the opposite, which is I'm like, I made it here and I'm fucking happy. Yeah. So I'm gonna let it take as long as it fucking needs to take for me to feel like I'm really investing in the right fucking person.
Yeah. But I feel like there's this fine line of like, I mean, I'm fully transparent. Totally. And I've said this to people I've dated. Like, you ask me the right question and I'll give you the answer. Full transparency, completely vulnerable. Yeah. The problem is most men don't know what questions to ask. Like, I've been in situations and I'm a great question asker. Yeah. Great.
Well, that's how we
I
collect
can
data.
Get in.
Yeah.
I can get in and they won't even know it hit them because it was so soft and like subtle that they're like, holy shit, I can't believe I just told you that. Yeah. Where it's like, we're in this space, like, I'm totally available and open to be in that space with you. But you aren't even capable. You don't even know what questions to ask me. And I'm not going to be the person to hold your hand through that.
Agree. But I think not a lot of men care.
I think
the men we want to care, right? Like, we want them to want to know all of these things about us. I also think there's people that are just they don't operate on that level of self-acknowledge. Like, they don't, like self-awareness, let alone to try to delve into who
someone
you are.
else. Yeah.
And I think that that's how we vet people, right? So
Right.
if you keep going out with them and you're asking them these deep questions and they're never
And
coming
it's
back
not
to you,
reciprocated, or like you'll notice you ask a question and they answer it, and then it's just like,
not
I'm like, I've
what
just
about
teed you up.
Yeah.
I've literally just
Giving you a
fucking
layup.
teed up this conversation, and you are staring at me like I'm a wall.
Yeah.
Like you got nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. But that's where that's how we judge.
Yeah.
Not judge, but that's how we vet.
Right.
I guess because you want someone that's
because
going to be
we
asking
want
those
someone who's
questions
going to
back.
dig in, and because if they don't ask the questions and they don't know who we are, and that creates a whole other dynamic.
Agree.
Yeah.
So collect your data, women and men. I think it needs to be on both sides. I think you need to observe because let's call a spade a spade. Women are just as bad as men. I mean, this is a two-way street, right? It's just our process is vetting, collecting data, not dating potential, and making it to at least 3 months before we make any big decisions,
Yes.
right?
Like even 3 months before we make travel plans.
Travel plans. Oh, yes.
That's a whole thing.
So do not, oh my God, I don't know how many times I say this, like, do not make extended travel plans. Do not, shit can happen. And it's happened to both of us.
Like,
because your
no more
intentions,
than
right?
like 2 weeks out. Like,
What?
are we saying like no
I don't
more than 2 weeks?
I do not like preferably to make plans more than 2 weeks out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. In a scenario where I could either like lose money or like it could affect other people. No, because things happen and you don't anticipate that because you're in the land of like, this is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Until it's
you
fucking
have your
not. Until it's fucking not.
lenses on.
It's perfect until it's fucking not. And then you're like, holy shit, I'm left with,
what did I
oh my
just
God,
do?
I had airfare once. Like
Yeah.
thousands I've spent once
Yeah.
for it to be like, whoop,
Yeah.
pump the fucking brakes. Like that is not my person.
Yeah.
And you learn, but yeah, no, now it's like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 weeks. I think that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to cover on how we strategize dating?
I think just use
covered
also
it
the
all.
biggest thing, final thought is like use your gut. Like
Yeah.
don't let your heart overtake your mind sometimes with like if you're feeling like, oh, it feels so good, but this is bothering me, listen to your fucking gut.
Yeah.
Because I feel like 99% of the time it's right.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Good topic.
Yeah. So tune in if you guys aren't following us on IG, TikTok, YouTube,
Spotify,
Spotify, all the
podcast
things.
apps.
Yeah. Please start following us.
Yes. Till next time.
Till next time.